Okay, can I begin, Angela?
The floor is yours. You may start.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right, and Sandy. All right, welcome everybody, and thank you for coming to our Saab 2022 AGM. Very pleased to have you all present. We're now over the necessary quorum of 25 persons, so we can get started. Just to give you a few tips on what to do during the proceedings. If you wish to say anything, if you'd like to comment on anything or ask a question, please could you indicate in the chat that you wish to do so, the general chat. And then one of our technical support team, Angela or Jackie, will invite you up with your camera and microphone off, and then once you're on stage and I invite you to speak, you could switch your camera and microphone on and ask your question. Then we are going to try and keep the time. We'd like to finish by 4:30. That gives people a 10-minute comfort break before the award ceremony at 20 to 6. That's right. Yes, 20 to 5. Sorry, 20 to 5. Okay, great. Thank you. And then if you've got any questions that are very simple, you could type them in the chat if I need to answer anything now. Okay. All right, then could we share the agenda, please, Elizabeth? Just try and adjust that a moment. Okay. Okay, can you go to full screen or not? Or is that's fine? Okay, so the list of apologies, I have 5 apologies. I have Professor Janine Adams, Dr. Quinton Kritzinger, Professor Dave Berger, Dr. Helena Duplessis, Dr. Nathan Finkelstein. Is there anyone else who has sent their apologies via someone who's here today? Please just, thank you, Eugene. So Professor Owen Lewis. Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much for that. And then you've seen the agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to add under general? If you could just type that in the chat as well. No. Okay, thank you very much. Then we did send out the minutes of last year's AGM, and hopefully you've had a chance to look at them. Were there any changes that anyone picked up that should be noted and amended? If so, again, please indicate in the chats. No? All right, then may I please have an approver, someone to propose approval of the minutes, and a seconder. Thank you. Stephen proposed, and someone to second it, please. Shirk seconded. Thank you very much for that. Right, then, in terms of matters arising from the previous minutes, the only thing that I could see was the investment strategy, which was mentioned, and we will be dealing with that under the Treasurer's report very briefly. Okay, we've got a few seconders. Thank you. Thanks, Kenneth. Thanks, Lindy. So unless anyone else has picked up anything they would like us to follow up on, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll move along. Okay. We'll give you a few minutes in case there's any, not minutes, a minute or so. Okay, nothing serious coming through there. So then we'll move on to item number 6, which is our report for the South African Journal of Botany. And very pleased to have Dr. Elrin Albrecht with us today, who will be guiding us through her report. Dr. Albrecht is the publisher for SAJB with Elsevier, and she will be sharing her presentation now. Or no, Angela, are you sharing it? Elrin, have you got your microphone on? Ah, there we go.
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
And you can hear me. That's perfect.
We can.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to report about the publication of the journal, South African Journal of Botany, within the last years. It's my pleasure to take part in the meeting, despite I would love to be in South Africa and to join you in presence. Let's jump to the first slide, and here you can see the development of the impact factor over the last decade. And you can see in 2021, the impact factor for 2020 was published, and this is the first time the journal got an impact factor over 2 since a decade. And this is a really great success of the development of the journal. I'm really proud to see this.
Elrin, sorry,
yeah?
can you go into presenter view for the
Yes,
screen?
it's been larger. It's better now?
Yes, thank you.
So, sorry. Yeah, here you can see the slide in larger format. And the right side, you can see the number of articles published and also the number of citations. And you can see in 2020, if it was the impact factor 2020, articles were less counted for the impact factor were less than in the year before, but the number of citations has strongly increased. If you look to the next slide, you can see the some journals listed in the journal category Plant Science by Clarivate for the impact factor, and here is a competitor journal of South African Journal of Botany, and you can see here the impact factor and the ranking. The ranking in last year in the impact factor 2020 is 105, which is lower rank compared to 2019, despite the increased impact factor. Most impact factors has increased for the last release, so we always have to look careful for the ranking, and we must be careful for the development in the next years, how the ranking will be. Other journals showed also a strong performance over the time. Editorial summary for our journal. As at December 31st last year, the journal got 2,624 submissions, which was less as in the year 2020. These articles were submitted and processed by the editorial office via the system editorial manager. 68% of the articles were rejected without review. This means death rejection. And overall the rejection rate was 80%. As you can see in brackets, the rejection rate was less as in the year before. It's still on a high level and it's still on a good side, but we should be careful with handling and only allowed to publish the best articles which were submitted. Overall, last year, 484 articles were accepted. In this table, you can see from which countries the corresponding authors are from. 80% of all articles were authors by authors from South Africa, followed by India, Brazil, and China. As you can see here, this year is the first year as we have more corresponding authors from India than from South Africa. I would like to advise the handling editors to be careful, look on this, because for this journal with the focus on South Africa, it's more or less to be expected to have more authors based originally in South Africa than in India, but it's still on a normal level, the number of authors from South Africa compared to India, but we should watch carefully for the development in the next years. To address these concerns, we just included an additional question to the submission system, and you can see this question listed here. So all authors should clearly indicate why they submit to our journal and how the connection between the topic of the submission and the journal is given. We hope with this additional questions, author will be carefully consider if it's the right journal and if it's really a strong connection between the topic and the journal. On this slide, you can see the downloads per year, and you can see that since 2017, the archive of the journal is freely available after 2 years in Science Direct, which increases immediately the downloads for the journal, and also 2020 and 2021, we have high download figures. Here are the special issue published in the last 3 years, and in 2021 we have a special issue on the family Amaryllidaceae published by Nair and Professor van Staden. We published a special section on emerging trends in plant physiology and biotechnology, edited by Vijay Kumar, and a special section on enzyme inhibitors managed by Kanan Regansamy from India. I would like to thank all guest editors for their immense engagement to publish these special issues. As you can see from the number of articles, it's a strong investment. In this slide, you can see the pipeline for special issues which are in preparation. We expect to publish in March a special issue about underutilized fruits and vegetables in the face of climate change, with Asheville Nidola as guest editor. We have already 37 accepted articles and still 25 under review. The next special issue in preparation is on aloe, with Aderemu and Stephen and Johannes van Staden and Ben Eric as guest editors, with already 22 accepted articles, and 4 more special issues are already open for submission or will be open soon. So we have a strong pipeline for the journal for special issues in preparation. Nevertheless, suggestions for new special issues are always welcome. Some final remarks. In 2021, 8 volumes for the South African Journal of Botany were published. Compared to 2019, the number of submissions increased by 21%. I jumped over 1 year because in 2020, the number of submissions was immense high, and we call this within the publishing house COVID bump, because most scientists were at home and invest a lot of time for publication. So it's still it's a strong success that also in 2021 we have an increase of submissions. All these submissions were received and processed by the editorial office under pandemic conditions. By the end of October last year, Professor van Staden stopped his engagement for the journal concerning health issues. A team of associate editors was installed by the Saab to take over the further handling of submissions. In the next months, we expect a further adaptation of the editorial structure and the workflow to be expected for these changes were expected for the coming months. Our editorial board consists at the moment by 60 members. 33 are from South African scientists, and 27 are international scientists. These belong to 14 different countries. I would like to give my special thanks to Professor van Staden and Lee Warren for her excellent engagement in the last years, as despite the difficult circumstances last year. And I have to give a thank you to the new team of 9 associate editors who jumped in immediately to take over the handling of the submissions by the end of last year. The names are listed here, combined with the subjects they are responsible. This is not a fixed list. We expect changes in the next months to adapt to the number of submissions per subject and to take care for all changes we expect in the next time. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Aaron, thank you very much. Before I just comment on the leadership, are there any questions based on that presentation from Aaron? Okay, there's an appreciation from Sandy to you and Elsevier. Any questions from anyone? Any comments? Okay, well, perhaps while people are thinking or typing anything, I'd just like to give my thanks to you as well, and appreciation for your guidance and support, especially over the last year, and also pay tribute to Professor van Staden and his administrative assistant, Lee, who has carried a great deal of the load while Professor van Staden was not well. And we are really, really thrilled with the impact factor of over 2 for the first time ever, I think, for South African Journal of Botany. Yes. So thank you. It's been a good year despite the difficulties, a good 2 years, in fact, despite the difficulties and COVID. So then just to follow up on the leadership and organizational changes for SAJB, if we can go back to the agenda, please, if we could put the agenda up. Okay, before I carry on there is a question from Marion about the South African Journal of Botany secretary position. Marion, we'd like to invite you up to the stage so that you can speak and ask your question in person.
Hello, thank you, Glenys. Sorry, I think I'm jumping your gun that you wanted to shoot first. But
Okay.
I was a bit concerned, and I have a recommendation for council. So the 330,000 being paid to the secretary position as the secretary of the SAJB editor-in-chief, that's a huge amount of money to pay. I understand it's been a difficult year, and the current secretary has done a wonderful job, which we really appreciate. But I would consider making this a half-day position or fewer hours per week. I'm not sure how it's constructed at the end, of course, of the current contract. And then maybe if there's money available, please, a second recommendation to consider is to take the money that might be spared or saved and give it to maybe to new incoming appointed plant science lecturers that need seed money to get started, or something to promote plant science in general. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Marion. We're going to get a recording of this, and this will all be minuted, and it will go into the minutes. Thank you very much. Alvaro Fuludwe, the editorial office now be seated. Okay, so maybe let's go back to the agenda, and then I can address the leadership issues. Okay, so Aaron outlined some of the changes that have taken place in the South African Journal of Botany leadership. So Professor van Staden did step down in December. By then we had already set up the system with the associate editorship managing the incoming submissions. So instead of the submissions going via a chief editor, they now go directly to the associate editors, who then pass them on to the review board editors to send out for review, or reject them at that stage if they're not worth considering. And as Elrin showed you, we have 9 people involved in that at the moment. Some we can see are already overloaded because some categories are just hugely subscribed to, and we will need to bring in 1 or 2 more people there. But it's a fluid process, and we will deal with it as things come up. We're going to be looking for a new editor-in-chief, and the Constitution recommends that we look amongst our editorial board preferentially, so that would be our starting point. And once we have some nominations from our associate editors and from council, we will consider them and let you know once we have a new editor-in-chief. We're hoping that this will happen within the next month or so, because obviously it's ideal to have an editor-in-chief to manage the journal, to help manage the journal. But it's going to be much more of a team effort rather than a one-man effort. Professor van Staden was amazing. He handled it for so many years. It's over 20 years that he managed that journal. And as William says, his support has paid off in survival and growth of the journal. And yes, thank you to our new team for stepping in and taking up the load. And yes, it is often a thankless job, but it's a very necessary one. And so we hope to find someone who will have a passion for the journal as well and be able to take us into the future. As you would have seen from the constitutional that have been proposed, we are not looking for someone on as a life mission as Professor van Staden did, but hopefully for at least 3 years, to be extended to 5, and then at the most 10 if it seems appropriate and all parties are wanting that. The administrative assistant to Professor van Staden, Mrs. Lee Warren, we did offer her a 3-year contract initially, where we said that the first year would be at the same salary and conditions as her current position, because we wanted to firstly acknowledge the important role that she has played, especially in this last year. And also we wanted to give her a chance to establish herself and look for other supplementary employment if necessary, because in the 2nd and 3rd year we had envisaged that, as Marion implied, it's not going to be a full-time job anymore. It would be very much a supportive role, and we weren't sure how many hours a day it would involve, and we would then have negotiated. At this stage, she has indicated that she wants to continue to work with Professor van Staden rather than be employed by Saab. There was some misunderstanding in that she thought she could continue to do the work for SAJB but be paid by Professor van Staden, but we have indicated that that is not possible. So at this stage she has indicated that she would very likely not be taking up the position. I will confirm that in the next day or 2. And then in the interim, our administrative secretary, Elizabeth, has very kindly agreed to step in and do what would be needed by an administrative assistant at this stage, which is basically to remind the associate editors that they need to deal with things if the numbers of submissions build up, and also to follow up with editorial board members and even authors who are late in resubmitting submissions that have been sent out after review and needing changes. So that is the plan for the moment. And Elizabeth we will obviously be renegotiating her remuneration over this period, and work out how many hours are needed. We're not even sure at this stage, so it will be a developmental process. Okay, so Alvaro also has a question here. In the publishing sphere, 3 years as ERC is meaningless. I suggest 5 years in view of how impact factor and site scores are calculated. The new ERC's vision will only reflect post 3 years. So Alvaro, yes, we're hoping someone will want to stay on for at least 5 years. At this point in time, we don't want someone to be put off by looking at 5 years into the future, and we would be, if we can get the right person for 3 years, we feel that that would be a bonus. But obviously we are looking at 5 years as our ideal time as a first off option. But we would like an initial commitment of 3 years to be extended to 5 years, and then the option to extend to 10 if all are satisfied. So that is what we put into our suggested motion there. Okay. So any further questions about the leadership of the journal? Any other suggestions? We would welcome them. Okay, so then I'll move on to the President's report. If there are no more questions, comments, suggestions? No. All right. So I will take it as read and just highlight a few of the points from my report. And just to say that it has been a challenging year, and I would like to thank everyone who has supported Saab during this year, and especially the members of council. The terms of office of Professors Stephen Boatwright and Timo van der Niet and Dr. Anthony McGee end after this. And I certainly thank them for their contributions over the years, for their service to council and the association. I'm especially grateful to Stephen, who served as vice president during my first year as president. And it was a very welcome support, and I certainly valued his advice. I'd like to welcome the new members of our council who were nominated and voted in. That's Dr. Madeleine Struwig from Noordwes-universiteit, Dr. Nina Kutsia from Stellenbosch University. Although, Nina, I see that you're now at Nelson Mandela University. Is that correct? I think I saw that from your email. And, okay, yes, George campus. Okay, thanks, Nina. Then also Dr. Rachel from, he's not with Sandy, he also informed me that he's in wildlife. So we're very pleased to have you all on board and looking forward to engaging with you. Yes, Sandy, thanks from you as well. Okay, I'd also like to extend thanks to Shirk Geertz for his role on the Saab executive and also his valuable advice, and to Sandy for her role as treasurer. In terms of students, our student numbers were down last year because we didn't have a conference. But I've been very pleased to see that we had many students register for the current conference. And of course, it's a perfect opportunity for students to present in a conference situation. And they've taken huge advantage of it. So that's lovely, because they will then automatically become members, because that registration fee is included in their membership fee, in their registration fee. And we plan to have an online student symposium in the mid-year to maintain our engagement with students. Some will be by invitation. It'll just be a day's symposium, and Dr. Ada Risenga will be heading that up. So please keep an eye out for those notifications and encourage students to get involved. They have also been following on Facebook, even though they may not have been members. And there have been quite a few attending our webinars as well. In terms of conferences, we are very, very grateful to the team at Northwest University at the Mafeking campus, and especially Dr. Madeleine Struich and your team. Thank you for hosting us so very well. And I'd also like to thank the technical team here. Angela and Jackie, I'm not sure if there's anyone else there in the wings, but it's been fantastic. You guys have just really made it work so very well. And I was quite nervous about connections, but on the whole, most people have managed. There've just been one or two that have not been able to present that I experienced in the sessions. So really well done, and it's been such a pleasure. It's really enjoyed it. Whereas I was quite apprehensive. So thank you. The future conferences for Saab, I see that's down as 9.2, so I won't deal with that here. We were able to award bronze and silver medals last year to Dr. Blair Cowie and Professor Tim Hoffman from WITS and from UCT respectively. And they and our Best Young Scientist Award from last year's conference, from 2020 conference, I beg your pardon, Zainab Sheikh presented webinars at the beginning of last year. We followed up with additional webinars from local presenters and also some international ones. Thanks to Elizabeth and to Shirk for helping to organize and host those webinars. SaabNet continues to be a very useful tool and communication medium for our society, and thanks to Elizabeth for administering it so efficiently and for all the emails that come through. We have spoken about South African Journal of Botany, so I won't mention that again. Our website is still a very important means of communication, and having the webinars on there via a link from the website is also another bonus. All the recordings of our past webinars are still available there if you missed any of them. Our membership has actually grown. That is our ordinary membership from 256 to 276. So that's actually very, very encouraging. And we actually wondered if the webinars didn't encourage some of that new membership. It would be very nice if it continued. I did mention student membership dropping, but hopefully it will increase now again. We have received nominations for all 3 categories of our Saab medals for 2022. Very good nominations, and some of the decisions were difficult. And we will be announcing these medals in the award ceremony at 20 to 5. So I hope many of you will join us for that as well. So if you go back to the conference link, or Elizabeth will send out the award link again, that's how you'll get in there. Right, and then just to say, yes, I'm very grateful to those who nominated these folk. It is quite a bit of effort, and it's only because people will take that time and effort to nominate outstanding botanists that we can then honor them and recognize their contributions. I'd also like to, in this forum, thank Professor Craig Peter and his team at Rhodes for adjudicating the 3 PhD theses that were nominated for the bronze medal. We did receive 2 good nominations for the Sarah Negro Award for Women Achievers in Plant Sciences, and it was given to Ms. Duduzile Ngwenya for 2021. And please, if you would encourage people to apply again in 2022. We received a large number of applicants for our Saab Master's Bursary in 2021. We only award one each year, and this year it was given to Bianca Ferreira. And then, of course, Kalen Reddy was still eligible for the second year of his MSc bursary. We awarded 3 honors bursaries, and we had 14 applicants for that. The awards were to Amy Bruninas, Dandy Kritziner, and I'm not sure how to say the X there, Dikchavo Matibula. So congratulations to them. This year we are not going to advertise the bursary applications via Twitter, but it will be on our Saab Facebook pages. And supervisors, if you would like to encourage your students to attend, please, to apply, please do so. Sandy will be leading us through the Treasurer's report after this, but just to say that Saab remains in a strong financial position, very much due to Elsevier's contributions, and thank you to them for that. So even though we have taken over the administration costs for the journal in 2021, we are still in a comfortable position, as she will show you. And what else do I need to mention? Oh, we did engage a specialist law firm, NGO Law, to help us with our SARS registration process and our application for tax exemption as a public benefit organization. We are now registered with SARS. We had to pay an amount of over 300,000 in arrears for the last 3 years to avoid any further penalties. But if we are granted PBO status, then that amount will be refunded to us. We have also appointed a new accounting firm, M3 Accountants, to audit our books because they are willing to help us with our tax returns, whereas our previous accountant was not able to accommodate us in that regard. We have retained our membership fees at the same level as the last 2 years. And we also managed to sponsor 10 students to attend this conference. That came through a profit from the previous conference. Thank you, Sandy and Kwakwa, very much. And actually the NRF, who provided some funding at the last minute. And Sandy used some of it for a student social, but there was still quite a lot left over. And we decided we would like to use that to help sponsor students to come to our conferences for certainly this conference and perhaps a couple more. And that was done on a lucky draw basis because we didn't really want to go through a whole lot of applicants of people in need. But in the future, what we will probably do is have an application process, and then from those applicants, we will have a lucky draw. SACNAS points could be awarded or applied for from our Saab webinars throughout the year. And my thanks to Timo for handling that and to Elizabeth for assisting. And then just to end by saying thank you everybody for your support of the journal, of the society and the journal, and especially Elizabeth for all the very hard work that she has done over this year. This year, she has spent many extra hours on Saab matters because we've had the SARS registration and PBO application, we've had the webinars, and then she's also been involved in helping with some administrative issues around SAJB, even at the end of last year. She's certainly a great asset to Saab and a help to any president. And that's it, really. So let me hand over to, unless there's any further comments, questions. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so over to Sandy. Sandy, can you come through with the Treasurer's report?
Yeah,
And
sorry,
I'm not
trying to share
sure.
my screen, but it only had the window instead of the program. So I'm just going to open it again.
Is your presentation in full presentation mode? Because I think that helps.
Okay, I shall put it in now. Okay, hopefully it's coming through.
Yes, it's through. Thanks, Sandy.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Just to briefly go through our finances, the financial report has been finalized and was available from the document sent around to the membership. Yeah, just to run through it, this is just cash on hand and what's in our current account at the moment. And then from our money market accounts for the Saab money market and money market, SAJB money market, they've dropped a little bit, just by 5% for the last year, but that's mostly from having to take on the SAJB administrator, and of course also the EIC honorarium. So we've had some added costs there, plus also paying the 3 years arrears for our tax, which has eaten into our money market accounts quite a bit, plus also the fluctuating interest rates they've decreased to about 2.5% to 3% due to COVID and the market there. But if we become a public benefit organization, we would expect that SARS income tax to come back in. And so overall, then our total equity has grown by 5% over 2021 to just be over 3 million. Just to highlight some of the changes and major changes in the budget from 2021, just as Glynis mentioned, the profit from the previous conference, but that was mostly because of NRF funding coming in very late, which of course enabled us to sponsor some students or give some lucky draw sponsorships for the Saab 2022 conference. Our consulting fees for the lawyer for dealing with all our tax registration has just been over 30,000, and so that will hopefully drop off as our registration is completed. And then, just to say that the secretariat for the journal of 330,000, and as Marion said, it's very high, and this will be adjusted. I have left this in for the projections into our budget for 2022, just in case it stayed the same. But otherwise, it will be adjusted as we ad hocly employ Elizabeth for a few more hours for the journal administration, and then renegotiate for the new secretary, whoever that may be. And then, of course, there was no, because we're virtual this year, there were no expenses from travel for meetings or going to the conference. And so we were still in the green in terms of making a profit. And this was actually up by 26% from what we projected our profit might be. So it was looking good despite having taken on the SAJB expenses. Just looking at our projections, projection 1 is with membership cut in half. So if we had an unexpected drop in membership, whereas projected 2 is just carrying on the membership fees that we received from last year. So that's the difference there. And you can see that even with increasing salaries and keeping the SAJB, we are still in the green with 98 to 71,000 profit expected for the 2022 year. And just to reiterate, every year, just to say thank you very much to Elsevier for their support, Alrin and her team, because as you can see with the finances, without Elsevier's support there, our Saab council is, well, we're eating into our capital quite a lot. So just to say a very big thank you to Elsevier for their continual support. Right, going forward, Glynis did mention that in our AGM last year that we will be looking at investing some of our money market funds, just because the interest rates have been very, very low. And so they've been earning but not growing as they should. And now that we're registered for SARS, we are waiting for some last things to be done. But we will be implementing an investing plan that was mentioned at the last AGM. About 12 to 24 months of the running costs will be kept in the money market accounts, just to keep everything running. The risk involved with the investment will be low to moderate risk, and spreading it into low equity funds. And if you'd like to receive any more information about the specifics and the plan that's been proposed, please do contact Glynis, Elizabeth, or myself, and we'll gladly help you. But otherwise, yeah, just to say that Saab is in a very strong position. And yeah, from my side, I really, really want to thank Elizabeth, Glynis, Shirk, Mike, everybody who's helped me with the yeah, basically compiling the reports and with the running of the accounts and everything through the year. So a very big thank you.
Very much. Okay, could we have the agenda back, please? Okay, thanks very much. So that was the, Kevin would like to say something. Shirk has made a comment that interest on money market is about 3%, which is below inflation. So yeah, we have been going backwards. And certainly with better investments, we should get some long-term growth. So can we invite Kevin onto the stage, please, Angela or Jackie?
Hi.
Okay, we can see you, Kevin.
And can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I just wanted to add another issue around Professor van Staden, finances of the society, because for most associations and societies, their journals are a liability. Saab was actually in terrible financial trouble. Prof van Staden took on the journal, and over all the years, or most of the years, he did this either for no charge or, you know, and the money that we get from Elsevier is for the editorial costs. And for years, he actually funded all of those costs, and the money went and was invested in those Saab accounts. And then Saab has been contributing to the costs over years, but he has still subsidized those to a large extent. So I think this was real brilliance to take something that was a liability for the society, and as is for most societies, and to actually turn it into something that then became a huge asset, a financial asset for the society. And that's how we built up these reserves. So I think this is another area in which we should pay tribute to van Staden and his Prof van Staden and his huge contribution to Saab. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Yes, indeed. Yeah, we're in this position very much because of his management and leadership of the journal. And we hope that it will continue to remain a benefit and not a liability. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back to the agenda then, unless anyone else would like to say something. I think that's fine. Okay, so the Saab congresses, I have already said thank you to the current organizers, but once again, thank you very much. And to the team behind the scenes. In 2022, we don't intend to continue the year-long webinar series, but what we do want to do is have our Saab medal recipients present webinars. We feel that it's very nice to know the research that our Saab medalists undertake, and all their contributions, their thoughts on certain aspects. So we have invited each medalist to give a talk. They do know who they are because we had to invite them to come to the award ceremony. And we look forward to those presentations. We would also like to invite the young best scientists to come and give us a webinar again in 2022. That will be from this conference, and it will be announced after the medal awards this afternoon. In terms, and then I mentioned the student symposium in the middle of the year, which Ida will be giving us more information about later on. In terms of future Saab congresses, so Stephen Moon, who is president, had actually lined up for the next 3 years, but when I was following up on that, it seems that we're actually looking for someone for next year, if possible. If there is anyone who would be willing to host it, either online or face-to-face, or a blended, if that's possible, at your institution, or if there's a venue near you that you would want to use that is more suitable. As I said, I was quite apprehensive about this online medium, but it has worked very well. And I think if an institution would be willing to host us again next year online, that would be better than not having a conference at all. So please, could you get in contact with me if you're willing to do that. I will be contacting a few folk as well myself in the next week or so. But Stephen did exhaust quite a lot of options. So as I say, if anyone feels inspired to host the Saab conference in 2023, please do volunteer. 2024, we have Sol Plaatje at Kimberley lined up, but they have said they might be more comfortable with 2025. So I will email UKZN, who said they were fine with 2025, and see if they're happy to swap. Otherwise, we'll work on that further as well. So hopefully in the next few months or so, we'll be able to confirm a Congress for 2023, January 2023, and let you know what the lineup is. All right, now we get on to our constitutional changes. So we put forward 4 motions. We had a lot of constitutional changes this year. Most of them were necessary because of our application to SARS for public benefit as a public benefit organization. And they were advised by the team of lawyers that I referred to. But in addition, we have 4 motions. So if we could put up motion 1, please, on the screen. And then what we need you to do, please, is to indicate in the chat what your vote is, because we need to be able to count them. We're not going to try and count them now, but as I said, we will get a recording of the chat, and we will be able to let you know if the motion was passed or not, unless we can see it's an overwhelming approval. So the first motion, motion 1, was to amend the bursary section 7.3.1.5, which requires an applicant for a Saab bursary to declare any other bursaries. And the motivation behind this is that we are not awarding on the basis of need, according to our constitution, we are awarding on merit only, and we cannot penalize students for other funding. And it was muddying the waters a little bit because obviously we had many students in need applying as well. So Stephen clarified that it was because we were wanting to make sure that they did not exceed the amount allowed by the NRF for a student to hold. And we feel that very often the students don't even know if they've been awarded bursaries when they apply for our bursaries. So it is really their responsibility to make sure that their bursary amount does not exceed what is allowed by the NRF if they receive an NRF bursary. And if necessary, they could return it to us and we could give it to number 2. So we just want to basically delete 0.7.3.1.5 from the Constitution, which required them to name and give the amount of other bursaries or scholarships applied for and whether they were successful or not. So if you could please indicate whether you're for or against that motion in the chat now. Okay, we actually need 2/3 of the people present to indicate their agreement. So please do vote. If you're a student member and you're attending, you're not actually eligible to vote, but thank you for your presence anyway. So it looks like everyone is supporting it so far. So provided we have a 2/3 support level, we will be able to adopt this motion. Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Move on to motion number 2. Okay, so this motion is an amendment to the purpose of the association in the Constitution. We did amend this when we did it, when we redid it for our SARS application, because we had to not look like we were an association just in support of our profession. And we initially indicated that we would like to include conservation biodiversity in it as a priority, but some members objected, they felt it was a very narrow view, and we agreed. So we removed it, and we've reworded it. And we said that of the study of botany, plant sciences, and related research disciplines, and to perform such functions as may be desirable for the attainment of these objectives. Our proposed new version is: the association is established for the advancement of fundamental knowledge and innovation in the botanical or plant sciences and related research disciplines for the benefit of people and the environment, and to perform such functions as may be desirable for the attainment of these objectives. And in this new version, we hope that we have made it very inclusive, but also indicated that we are for the benefit of people as well as for the environment. So if you could now please indicate your support for or against this proposed new version. Okay, that comes through, we will take as for support motion 2. Thank you very much. Or against. Okay, so again, thank you very much. Mostly support coming through, but once again, we do need 2/3 of our members present to indicate their support. Okay, so while we wait for any more support or against indications to come through, could we now put up motion 3? All right, thank you very much. So this amendment is to the composition of council. And the motivation is that the editor-in-chief of the journal was listed as a member of council, and yet that person reports to council. And at this point in time, when we are appointing a new editor-in-chief, we realized that it was a conflict in the situation. And we as council are responsible for assessing his or her performance, for appointing the editor-in-chief, but also for issuing notice if necessary. And so the original version included 10 members, where the honorary treasurer and editor-in-chief were appointed onto council, by council. And we now propose that council consists of 10 members, of whom 8 are elected from amongst Saab members. 1 member is nominated as representative of the South African National Biodiversity Institute, and the honorary treasurer is appointed by council. The executive secretary shall be in attendance, and the editor-in-chief of the South African Journal of Botany reports annually to council. Persons nominated for election onto council should have been members of Saab for at least 1 full year and have attended at least 1 Saab conference. So that the change is really around the editor-in-chief not being an actual member of council itself, but to report to council. So please could we have support for that? Or if you're against it, please indicate now. Okay, thank you very much. I see mainly support coming through for that. So I think, and hopefully that's 2/3 of our members present. So please could we move on to motion 3. Okay, so motion 4, I beg your pardon, motion 4 now is to change the indefinite appointment of the elected editor-in-chief to a fixed period. And in this instance, we're proposing 5 to 10 years. And our motivation is that in most journals, the editor-in-chief is appointed for a period of 5 years. And we're even offering to extend it to 10 years. So the original version, if you look at the second line, the first line was a minimum would be for 2 years. Thereafter, if both parties were agreeable, the appointment would become indefinite, with either party giving 6 months notice of their intention to end the arrangement. So that is now proposed to be changed to that the editor-in-chief is elected and appointed by Saab Council for a period of 3 years, with possible extension of a further 2 years to a total of 5 years, whereafter renewal may be considered for another 5 years maximum, either party giving 6 months notice of their intention to end the arrangement. In the event of either Saab Council or ERC not fulfilling their obligations as set out in the appointment letter, a shorter notice period may be given. A new editor-in-chief should preferably be selected from members of the editorial board, and this should be taken into account when constituting the editorial board. So once again, please could you vote either for or against this motion? Okay, so again, we seem to have mostly support, so thank you very much for that. All right, so if we could go back to the agenda. We are now on to general, and we have already dealt with the Saab's. Hello, sorry. Yes, I thought it might be. I'll open up now for you. Thanks. All right, thanks. Okay, I just need to go and let one of our medal winners into the museum where I'm located. So in the meantime, we've dealt with 11.1. 11.2 is concern over lack of teaching fundamental botany. So I'm going to hand over to Professor Eugene Moll, who raised this issue and would like to speak to it. So Eugene, if you'd like to come onto the stage, please. The organizers will invite you on, and I will just go and let one of our medal winners in, because I'm going to hand over personally to him. So I'll be back shortly.
We've sent you the notification. If you can just accept it to be called backstage.
We only heard part of that. I'm not sure if Prof. Moll got all of that. We didn't, so maybe just repeat that.
Sorry, Glynis, we put you on mute while you stepped away. If you can just unmute, please. We've sent the notification to Eugene. He must just accept it to join us on the stage.
Eugene, can you accept that invitation to come on stage, please? Is Eugene still here? Yes, he must be.
If you accept it, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that there's a microphone and camera. You must just pop it on. So please activate your camera and microphone, and that will bring you to the stage. Eugene, if you are in the room, can you maybe just advise in the chat box, in the general chat box, if you can hear us? Okay, Eugene, you are here.
In the list of participants on stage, Angela.
Yes. We've added Eugene to the list. So if he has accepted the notification, he must just activate his camera and microphone. Perhaps we could give him a call?
I don't have his number. Does anyone have his number?
moment on his phone with him. He's got some problems with his camera and mic.
Oh, okay. All right. I think then perhaps what we'll do is we'll just raise the issue. We did circulate his point of view about the teaching of fundamental botany, that some of this has been lost over the years. Many of the departments of botany, the original departments of botany, have merged with zoology or other disciplines, and he just felt motivated to raise this at the conference and just to entreat people to continue to teach some of those fundamental concepts that he feels are now being neglected. So that was, I think, most of what he was saying. I don't know if anybody would like to respond to that point. Okay, while we're trying to get Eugene on, if we can, we will still do so. Are there any other points that anyone would like to make before we close the AGM? I see lots of thumbs up coming. I don't know if that's for the closure of the AGM.
Jackie will give Eugene a call, and then we will try and get him on stage, or try his camera and mic to work.
Okay, so Janine has made the point that an employee taxonomist, it is hard to find those trained in traditional taxonomic methodology, nomenclature, descriptions of species basics. Lots of potential candidates have knowledge of phylogeny, molecular biology. Yes, I know, Janine, it's not easy to find systematists at the moment. So that is certainly a need. Marion Mayer says, merger at UP didn't affect our undergraduate teaching in botany plant sciences. I think at WITS we still do. I did respond to Eugene and I said, you know, we had to merge because otherwise we probably would have been closed down with 15 students in the late 1990s. And we do still teach some of the basics, but I can't say that it's really as intensive as it was. And we don't have such dedicated courses anymore, but we still cover a lot of the basics. There's still a second year biotic diversity course, which is plant nomenclature and taxonomy. We have plant physiology. We have ecology. Stefan Siebert says, merger at NWU also did not affect our undergraduate teaching in botany. Stephen, I've actively fought, especially for fundamental taxonomy, to stay in our curriculum and developed an honours course dedicated to this. But that's probably really a useful aspect, an honours course. Okay. I think we'll give you, Jean, one more minute. Otherwise, I think we're going to close the conference. We need to be able to go and get a cup of tea, coffee, water, glass of water, maybe have a comfort break, and I think we'll move on. Okay, Lisa Joubert UFS also provides a dedicated BSc in Botany. That's true. Yes, thanks, Lisa, for that. Honours modules focusing on alpha taxonomy, others on ecology. All right, then I think it behoves me to just thank everybody for your participation today. We need you to be involved in the society, and we do appreciate it. And thank you once again for all our technical support. And I hope you will join the award ceremony. Good evening.